Everyone, welcome to the Lunch and Learn session. I'm going to share the screen so you can see what's going on this morning. Um, I'm Amy Pollock. Let's see if you can see the screen that I've shared. Can I have a thumbs up? Good. Thanks so much. I'm Amy Pollock-Castro Schrader, the career development consultant at DPI, and Dr. Keisha Bryant, our school counseling consultant, is trying to get in this morning but having some tech challenges. And we both welcome you to this Lunch and Learn series this morning. Um, this is technically supposed to be our second one. Our first session, the computer science graduation requirements, because of all the weather and storms, was canceled, and we're working on getting that recording out to you. Today's session is Happy November 5th. It is November 5th, and with us this morning, we've got Jeanne Turner, the work-based learning consultant for DPI, to focus on nourishing work-based learning for all educators. Thank you, everybody, for being here, and thank you, Jeanne, for taking the time to prepare and present to our school counselors, CDCs, and special population consultants, and others who may be joining us. A little bit of housekeeping items for those in the audience. If you could work to keep your mics muted, and then put a note in the chat. I'll be watching the chat throughout. Um,
That's
if you
terrible.
have any questions for Jeanne during this time, during this Lunch and Learn, there will be an opportunity for questions at the end. This is attending today's session. You will earn 0.1 CEU. Again, the session is recorded, and once the recording is combined, and I will be sharing it out to CDCs through the CDC Moodle, and Dr. Keisha Bryant will be sharing it out to school counselors as well through her platforms. Questions throughout the session or at the end of the session can be entered. Additionally, if you didn't want to put it in the chat and ask publicly, through this QR code. And this slide will be available at the end of the session as well, so you'll have the QR code again. But I encourage you to consider putting your camera up and taking a picture, or not taking a picture, putting your camera up to open up
Okay.
this form right now for questions. And um, again, Jeanne's email will be at the end as well. But this form is a way for us to tabulate and collect all questions and distribute them across the board and make sure that we um, know what kind of questions are out there. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen because I'd like to introduce you all to Jeanne Turner, who's going to share her screen. And Jeanne is our DPI, Career and Technical Education Work-Based Learning Consultant for the state, aficionado, fabulous team member, partner with me in crime on supporting the field. And thank you again, Jeanne, for doing this. I'm going to go off camera and watch the monitor of the chat and let people in.
Good morning, everyone. I'm so happy to be here with you. I'm getting ready to share my screen. And if someone could just let me know that they can see my screen.
Yes. It's not in
Okay.
presenter mode, but yes.
And we are definitely trying to get it in presenter mode. And what I am going to do also is, well, I'm trying to, let me see, 1 second. Sorry, you guys. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started. I hope that it does not lag a little bit, but I just want to close my camera, but for some reason I can't do that right now. Let me see. Yes, I can, because I don't want it to lag. Okay, all right. Let's get started. All right. So because this is a lunch and learn, I thought I would provide some nourishment for your work-based learning souls this morning and just really talk to you from the aspect of working together, CDCs and school counselors working together. Because I tell anybody when I'm going out and I'm talking to different people, work-based learning is one of those strategies that really should be looked at as a team approach. So today, if you will help me savor the flavor of work-based learning, we're going to go over just a brief overview of work-based learning, talk about the power of work-based learning, of course, go into the courses, that are offered through work-based learning, some of the resources. And I really want us, the takeaways I want you to have from it is to understand the power of work-based learning and how it can really enhance not only the students' lives, but there's benefits for the school as well as the entire community, and those importance of those strong community partnerships, not just with the employers, but with other community-based organizations, as well as navigating some of those challenges associated with work-based learning and some best practices. So we'll start out a little bit, and I don't want to insult anybody's intelligence, but I do want to start with just with the basic definition. And we all know that work-based learning is an educational strategy. So your grades, but for the purpose of this meeting, I want to make sure that people understand that when we're looking at work-based learning, that we want it to be meaningful. Whatever we're doing with work-based learning, whether it's a guest speaker, whether it's a field trip, whether it's that CTE internship course, all experiences that we create for students should be meaningful. And from those experiences, maybe they're able to apply some prior knowledge as much as often get them into a professional setting as much as possible, because we know that when we are able to get students out of their element and into new experiences, it does provide opportunities for growth, not only personally, but also professionally. And we want to make sure that we're developing those skills that are valuable in the workplace. Employers say all the time, I can train them to do the technical skills, but we are looking for an employee who will show up on time, that they can be a team player, that they can communicate. And so we want to make sure that we are also intentionally embedding those employability skills. So from that definition, we created a vision statement, and you'll see that on the screen. And a lot of these resources, your CDCs, I know there's a lot of CDCs in the audience today, but there are these resources are available in the work-based learning Moodle. If you ever want to take them and make copies of them, use them on your local media platforms or embed them in your documents, please feel free to do so. But within that vision statement, we're talking about a unified team approach to really increasing the work-based learning efforts throughout North Carolina. Again, making things meaningful. One of the things I will just kind of add in here, I think I'm not going to say I think, with the new CDP legislation where all students have to have a career development plan, I think we can be much more intentional in our focus. And as we're building and providing work-based learning opportunities, we'll be able to really carry out this work-based learning vision statement. But throughout this vision, when we're building a program, we want to build programs in our schools that are resilient, scalable, and autonomous. And what I mean by that is that we are creating systems that will continue to grow. They will continue to evolve no matter who's there and doing the job, because we know people retire, they move on to different opportunities, but we don't want our students to lack just because of the change. So we're building these work-based learning ecosystems that can grow. And within these ecosystems, we're bringing in our partners. Also, when we're building our programming surrounding work-based learning, we're making sure that we are really embedding those durable employability skills, that we are providing students an opportunity to showcase not only their certifications and their knowledge, but to showcase those career-ready skills, because we want our students to be able to go into the next leg of their journey and eventually get a job where they can get family sustaining wages, and again, build up your community. So work-based learning isn't just serving one purpose, but many purposes. And of course, you guys know the benefits for students in schools. I think we've kind of talked about this before, and I've said this before, and you probably have heard it before. The benefits for students are really endless, especially for some of our students whose social capital may not be the same as someone else. It does provide a confidence boost. We are able to increase students' social capital. And then, of course, for schools, just being able to personalize that instruction for students because they are able to get in and make those connections and see the growth themselves as they reach their goals for what they've done. And then, of course, just those strong partnerships for the schools. So, this is the work based learning cycle of experiences. And this cycle of experiences is built upon the career development continuum. And if you have been listening to our very knowledgeable career development consultant, Amy Paula Castro Shader, for the last several years, there has always been talk about this career development continuum. So, along that continuum, and we hope that all the schools have their own set as far as the different experiences they provide. But even along that continuum, this cycle of experiences for work based learning, these are all the different opportunities that you can provide in your school. Again, this is a document that can be downloaded from the Moodle, and you can incorporate the things that you offer in your school. One of the neat things about this cycle is, we're looking at a continuum and it's generally linear, right? But who's to say that a student that is in the 10th grade that hears about a new apprenticeship opportunity, let's say in HVAC with a company who never considered that before, that's awareness for them. Maybe they were, so we're not looking at this by grade level, but by their exposure to that particular career and where they are as far as getting that hands-on experience. They get guest speakers early on, fifth grade, early on, ninth grade, 12th grade. I've even seen seniors, a guest speaker, come into the classroom and maybe they never thought about that career. So that sparked their interest. And so, yes, they're at the end part of the high school career, but they can do some things to really help decide whether or not that's a career they want to go into. Maybe that guest speaker comes in October, but then they get a job shadowing experience, and then they can do maybe an internship in the spring of their senior year. So again, it's circular because everybody's going to be on their own ride at different aspects. And as far as getting that hands-on opportunities, we need to just make sure that when we are looking at building out those career development plans, that we do have work-based learning opportunities embedded in our career development programs so that students are able to really make those informed decisions about what they want to do. Of course, in a career awareness, that's basically what they're doing. They're hearing about a variety of different careers. In exploration, they're digging a little bit deeper, but it's not as intensive as would be someone who is actually sitting in a course for co-op where they're getting cooperative work experience. They're in a CTE internship, a CTE apprenticeship, or an actual pre-apprenticeship. One thing that I do want to note on the screen, if you see this little asterisk, this means that these are specific work-based learning courses, right? As we go through, I want to share with you some other resources that actually goes into more detail with all of these different experiences that you can incorporate into your plan of work. So, what about the power of work-based learning? How does it enhance student success? The young lady you see on the screen is a student that I actually had prior to coming into this position, and she actually completed two internships. One, she had, in her junior year, she was actually thinking about becoming a teacher, and she did an internship in an elementary school. But she found out that her true love was in baking. So her senior year, she went into a culinary internship, started working, interning with the company. Within, I want to say, 3 weeks, they hired her to become an employee. And she is still there working part time while she's going to school right now. One of the things that you will see with your students is that you'll see improved academic performance. Students who participate really can make those connections and understand the importance of taking their academic performance, their work in school, they're going to take that a lot more seriously, right? They're able to apply what they've learned in the CTE courses, even some of maybe even in math or other courses where they've heard the information, but it didn't really resonate until they got into some of these experiences. We're talking about enhancing their durable employability skills. They're going to have to use problem solving. They're going to have to be adaptable. They're going to have to use communication. Um, their social emotional skills will be strengthened because they're working in environments where they're treated and respected as adults. So, they're able to adjust from the school setting to the workplace setting. And then, of course, these experiences really can really help them make those informed decisions as to what the next step is. For so long, even in my career, I used to ask, well, what do you want to be when you grow up? But for me, we really got to take on that mindset. What do you want to do next? How can I prepare you for the next leg of your journey? Right? Giving them the tools to make those decisions so that they have more choice. I heard Christy Hensley in a session last week talk about students having that freedom of choice. And so when we are able to give these different experiences, they do have more freedom of choice, and are able to make these decisions based off of what they want to do. Just a little quick rundown of the new course codes that are effective this school year. I love this new structure because all course codes related to work-based learning, the first character is a W, which makes it easy with work-based learning. The second character is usually the first letter of the course, with the exception of co-op, which is designated the second character as a zero. The letter O, and then advanced studies is an S. And then the third and fourth character denotes the actual career cluster. So if a student is doing a pre-apprenticeship in a health science pathway, it's going to be WP, then 08, which is really cool. One of the things that I tell CDCs and school counselors, make sure that your data manager is using these course codes. And again, this information does allow us to get the accurate data. Another thing I want to say with using these course codes is that whenever you're using WP or WA, any student enrolled in those courses in our school also have to make sure that they are officially enrolling and doing the registration paperwork with apprenticeship NC, because these numbers are aligned to making sure that our students are in pre-apprenticeships and apprenticeships with apprenticeship NC. Also this year, we have new course standards for CTE apprenticeship, CTE internship, CTE cooperative education. There were never standards before, so there are standards for these courses. And then there are new standards for CTE pre-apprenticeship. The reason being is so many people still have concern over, What's the difference between CTE internship? What's the difference between CTE pre-apprenticeship? And then what's the difference between apprenticeship? If you've been in my sessions before, I like to use the analogy and relate it to shopping. CTE internship is like, it's a very broad perspective, and students are kind of determined, is this the area that I want to go into? It is more like window shopping. And a student, like before, like the student you saw on the screen, Megan, before, she wasn't sure if it was education or culinary. So she just kind of went in and got a broad perspective of that. With CTE pre apprenticeship, it's kind of like Amazon try before you buy. You are able to test drive an occupation to see if that's what you want to do before you make the actual commitment of doing so, right? Because with the CTE apprenticeship, you're signing on the dotted line and you're saying, this is exactly what I want to do. Whether you're going straight into an HVAC apprenticeship, a construction apprenticeship, a healthcare related apprenticeship, I know this is what I want to do and this is the route I want to do. And our students have the opportunity to have these experiences while they're in high school. Yes, students can sign up for CTE apprenticeships while they're in school, and they're making that starting their pathway off early. One of the things you noted here, and you'll see it an image of that work-based learning resource manual. There's lots of support for these courses in this work-based learning resource manual. So just wanted to share that. I also wanted to share that in the CTE course management system, which is a public system, you can go in and look at all of the standards for all of the courses, and you will see that the standards have been created with the mindset that showing you the differences. You will see when you look at the course weights of each of the standards in the courses. In an internship, you're evaluating career opportunities in that pathway. In pre-apprenticeship, I'm in this pre-apprenticeship, but what does it take if I go the next route from an apprenticeship to a journeyman? What skills are needed and will I be learning in this pre-apprenticeship? So I'm focusing on those skills in that particular pre-apprenticeship. And then in an apprenticeship, I signed on. I am an apprentice. But what does it look like to move towards a journeyman, to become a master journeyman and getting that credential? What are the knowledge and skills of this particular occupation that I am going to be learning? I'm starting that. So you'll see that as a big percentage of that course because I've started in that and I'm learning the skills and the knowledge associated with that career, right? And then of course, if you didn't notice, within all of those different courses, we are expecting our students to apply these skills, and not only these skills, but the skills of confidentiality and resource management as well within those different courses. So one of the things that I always have to let people know, and this seems to be a misconception in different places, but for any of the work-based learning courses, it's 120 hours. Students need to complete 120 hours during the work-based learning experiences. Students need to be provided with course orientation so that they're not just put out there. They're not put out there to learn trial by fire, right? That we are preparing our students to go into these careers, to know a little bit of professionalism, to know about customer service, to know about industry expectations, and anything else that employer wants that student to know before they go in. A training agreement needs to be on file where the school, the work-based learning point of contact, whether that's the CDC or whomever, the principal, the parents, the employer have signed on to say, This is what this particular student is going to be involved in. And then that training plan where that student says, this is what I want to learn over the course of the semester. In a pre-apprenticeship and an apprenticeship, that training plan is usually what is set up in those agreements that are through apprenticeship NC, of course. And then, of course, documentations held at the right level. And of course, again, making sure we're using those right course codes and that we are making sure that our students are in safe situations. You know, we've got to make sure, even if a student is going out and they are working in a construction internship or pre-apprenticeship, we've still got to make sure that we are adhering to federal and state laws, right? But even within these state requirements, districts have the flexibility to create their own programming. There's so much flexibility that you can do within your own districts, right? You can choose the strategies that you and the experiences that you want to provide because your local workforce is really going to drive, I would think, would drive a lot of how you create these experiences for your students. You can use your own tailored approach to creating a work-based learning program that fits the needs of your students, your employers, your schools, whatever you have, right? So this is another document. It is a 2-page document, front and back, that was created so that CDCs could share this with the school counselors. So a lot of this information is being shared in the screen, in the presentation today, is available to you at your fingertips. So school counselors that are on the call, please ask your CDCs in your districts or your building to share this document with you. You guys can bookmark it so that you can have active access to these active links here in the document. Again, a lot of this is right here for you in this document. Also, some other resources for you in addition to the handbook, that 1-page document. CDCs have access to the work-based learning Moodle. I know in the different districts, whether you use a Major Clarity, Zello, Naviance, NC Careers, there's a lot of information there also for work-based learning. We've got professional organizations, your employer partnerships, your resources through CFNC. My Future is another huge resource. I really like this resource for some of the data that it provides. And then, of course, some of your government and other community partners, Apprenticeship NC, your workforce development boards, your Department of Commerce, NC Works. NextGen is a great representative that you want to get in contact with, especially when you're working with your special population students. And then, of course, NCBCE offers a lot of pre-ready initiatives that you can take and incorporate in your work-based learning efforts. The Students at Work initiative is a great initiative for getting job shadowing for your middle school students, your 8th grade students. It's a particular time of the year, and it's usually in March. So you can look into some of these other things by going to their particular website. Partnerships are important. Partnerships are so very important, but we have to look at our internal partners and our external partners. But you've got to know, like, these are all of your different partners, but they're also stakeholders, right? Your students. Once you, and those of you who have vibrant work-based learning programs, you know your students can sell your program for you. Students can share their success stories with other students who are going to get them saying, hey, I want to participate. I want to get involved in that, right? Your CDCs, CIMCs, to the extent of helping develop those canvas shells for your different courses. In some districts, you actually have a work-based learning point of contact, whether it's a work-based learning coordinator or whomever. But again, looking at all of your different internal partners and then your external partners. really building those working relationships for the benefit of your students, but also benefiting the employers, because we have in our schools, we have an active audience, whether it's the students or the parents, to fill those pipelines of employees that they're going to need, right? The real world experience for our students, we're bridging the gap between the schools and employers, the workforce there. And it just that increased engagement. You know, employers will come around and participate in other things. They'll sponsor other activities because it becomes then a community type thing. And again, we need to talk about it, and it needs to make sure that we are, it's reciprocal too, right? Um, Making sure that all parties find benefit in this, right? And as far as trying to find those partners, again, talking with different people. If you don't know a particular person in a business, it's always been said, it's not what you know, but who you know. Getting getting a contact from a parent, getting a contact from someone that's on your advisory board, reaching out through cold calls, attending Chamber of Commerce meetings, attending workforce development board meetings. Again, making those connections so that you can create strong and lasting partnerships. And always evaluating what works and what doesn't work, right? Um, with anything, there's always opportunities, there's always challenges. The greatest challenge I hear from every district across the state, nationally, is transportation. Transportation will probably always be an issue, especially for our students who don't have the resources. They don't drive, but that doesn't mean that they don't get the opportunity. We still got to find ways to reduce those barriers, right? We want to have increased student engagement. Not every student is going to complete an internship. Not every student is going to enroll in a pre-apprenticeship or an apprenticeship. But we've got to make sure that we have enough opportunities out there, again, so that students have that freedom of choice. But with those opportunities do come challenges, right? And it's going to look different in every area. So you've got to make sure that when you are looking at all of your opportunities and the experiences that you're going to offer, that you're also being proactive to come up with ways to overcome those things, whether it's looking at flexible scheduling, whether it's looking at if transportation is an issue, maybe that student is interested in something culinary, and maybe they can work with your child and nutrition staff. Again, we're not creating uh, uh, barriers, but we're creating opportunities for our students to experience meaningful experiences that help them make the decision, is this what I want to do next? And then, of course, making sure that everything we're looking at, providing safe uh, environments for our students to complete these experiences. All right. Just some best practices. Again, I will say this: meaningful and team approach all the time. I always tell people, if you haven't done anything yet, start small, start somewhere, but make sure, again, those experiences are meaningful. Quality is always better than quantity, and that's for sure. Um, Leveraging the diverse expertise from your partners. For the different experiences that you are going to provide, making sure that it's well rounded. Your programming efforts are well rounded, that you're not just being singular in your offerings. Um, Making sure that we are looking at student need, we're looking at student interest, we're looking at workforce demand. We're incorporating the use of our CTSOs, and we are helping teachers implement work-based learning experiences into their semester, into their curriculum. And then, of course, once we kind of got this whole work-based learning program built up, then how do we keep sustaining what we're doing? Every year, you're going to evaluate and you're going to improve on what you're doing. Let's look at a couple success stories. And these are things that have been shared through social media. This particular team in Durham Public Schools, they participated in the school nutrition competition. Excuse me. It was the junior chef competition. They won first place here in North Carolina. Then they went on to the Southeast Regional Competition and won first place there. And each one of these young men won a $10,000 scholarship to that particular college that was associated with the program. It was Sullivan University. So that was phenomenal. And this is something that these students and their teacher decided they were going to participate, the competition, right? Awesome experience, right? Here is the grand opening. McDowell High School has Moxie's Boutique. They have a school-based enterprise. There are a lot of schools that have a school-based enterprise in which students can participate. And again, work-based learning experience for those students who maybe want to go into fashion, for those students who want to open up their own business. But this is another great example of work-based learning success. Here in Charlotte, these students right here, they have a program with Novant. They're partnering with Novant. They have the Bridges to Healthcare program. And these interns completed the program. And to date, I think they've had over 250 students complete this program, which is great. And this particular program really looks at the underrepresented communities in Charlotte, Mecklenburg. So they are very targeted in their efforts, right? Here, another successful initiative in Wayne County. Wayne County and Lenoir County students last year completed a pre-apprenticeship in the summer. The one thing that I love about hearing about this program is they had 35 students start and they had 35 students complete. And one of the biggest components was that mentoring aspect. These students got up every day and came back every day because they enjoyed what they were doing. They had adults who were sharing and really teaching and empowering and inspiring them. They took weekly field trips to different companies. They completed some coursework. So it was a win-win for everyone. So we've gotten to the end of this presentation, and I just wanted to share with you, there really is power in work-based learning, no matter what you do. Again, that quality is important, making sure that it's meaningful. Partnership is key. Again, you're going to have challenges, but if we just let those challenges stop us, we'll never get anywhere, right? Again, I go back and I'll say work-based learning is a team approach. If you haven't started, start small. And if you have started, start building your success stories and sharing them. I hear a lot of time from people, sometimes people are I don't want to say afraid, but they're ambivalent, they're shaky on sharing because they're like, I don't know if we're doing it right. But when you see the success from students and you know that you are meeting your needs in your local area, you're doing something right, right? We're all learning in this. As your work-based learning consultant, I'm still learning every day. And you do have support, school counselors, CDCs. This is a great way to really collaborate and make sure that all of our students are getting these opportunities with business and industry to make those decisions for what they want to do next after high school. At this time, I'm going to kind of stop the presentation, and I do want to open it up if you do have questions. I'm going to minimize my screen. And see if there are questions. If you want to come open up your mic and ask any questions, please ask. I gave a very broad perspective of work-based learning, but we could definitely go down a rabbit hole and look at one particular experience. If you have questions about one particular experience, if you have questions about course coding or whatever your questions may be, please feel free to ask any questions you have.
Jeanne, there was something in the chat earlier, and I replied. I hope I directed from Ashley Andrews. She's trying to locate the work-based learning at a glance document. I believe that's in the work-based learning Moodle. Is that correct?
It is in the Moodle. It is in the Moodle, yes, but I have a link to it in my Google Drive that I can drop in the chat before the session is over.
Thank you. And there's a question in there also, how can we access the PowerPoint? So I will be putting the PowerPoint for all lunch and learns and recordings for all lunch and learns through the CDC Moodle and sharing them with Dr. Bryant, who is here with us. She was able to get connected. Keisha, I wonder if you could open up your mic and share how folks are going to get their recording on your end.
Good morning. I'm glad to be here. I'll be able to send it out in our school counseling listserv.
Fabulous. Thanks, Keisha.
Have a great one.
Yeah. So you'll be getting that information from both. If there are any SPCs in the room and you aren't on the CDC Moodle, you can go ahead and email me and I'll connect with our SPC consultant as well to see if we can get it out that way. And there's my email in the chat. What kind of questions do you all have, and comments, observations, thoughts, reflections for Jeanne related to the work-based learning information shared, or anything work-based learning with getting your students involved?
I am looking in my drive right now for that document for the link. So I'm still trying to look at the chat too.
There is, I don't know if you mentioned, Jeanne, in the beginning, because I was juggling, connecting people. Did we share the DPI work-based learning site, the DPI site?
I did not mention that here. I did
Okay.
not.
Okay, that's okay. I'll get it up.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of it too. There is a site on CTE for work-based learning and some information there to connect. I'll put that in the chat.
And I did put in the chat the link to the at a glance document.
Great. So I also put in the chat the link for the DPI. It's actually the career planning and placement site, part of the CTE site. And within there's a section, complete, wonderful section on work-based learning with some key information that complements what was shared today, and some documents at the bottom for attachments where the work-based learning resource manual is in there as an attachment, and some other items.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And a lot of the information is there. We try to provide as much information as possible to you so that you can even take some of the language and put it into your own words when you are actually trying to engage with a new employer or you're creating your elevator pitches and how each one of the phases of the work-based learning cycle of experiences, what it does for students. Because on that website that Amy just showed, there is also a chart on there that summarizes the each stage and the anticipated student outcomes for each stage. So that's always great information to have. I know we have about 15 minutes less, and I know there's still some housekeeping stuff that Amy and Dr. Bryant might want to share at the end, but I would love to hear from anybody here on the call. I know there's school counselors and I know there's CDCs here, but I would love to hear maybe how sometimes how you collaborate together with any of your work-based learning opportunities. Um, what are some of the things that you do to collaborate together? If you don't mind sharing. And again, you guys, this is a safe space. Please know that, we want our students to share and we want to create those safe spaces for our students. But as professionals, I think we also need to do that as well. And know again that there is no right or wrong, because what we're doing is we're trying to positively impact students. So I'd love to hear maybe a project or two you collaborate on or do in your schools that you're proud of.
This is Ashley Andrews. Can anybody hear me?
Yes, we can, Ashley.
Hey, I was just going to say, I am a previous school counselor, so turned CDC and loving this transition. But I do always try to include the counselors for any guest speakers, but also job shadowing dates. Just, they're working with the students a lot more one-on-one than we are. So I make sure they know any opportunities that we have planned at the school or district level. In addition to I'm trying to, establish that rapport with those counselors. And I've actually gotten some emails from the counselors because they have met with a student and, Miss Turner is interested in job shadowing. So, I want you to have her name. So, just,
Absolutely,
starting at the
Ashley.
bottom, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Ashley, I'm a former counselor too. So I agree with you. Having those conversations, when counselors have meetings at my previous school, once I left counseling and went to become a CDC, I still attended their meetings and shared what I was doing, and they would share with me, and we would talk about how we could kind of bridge some of those gaps and do things together. Another thing I did especially when we got a new counselor, someone new to the school, or just whatever the situation was, when I was going out to visit some of the different internship sites or just visit students at their placements, I would ask the counselor to come with me so that they could see what I was doing when I was out in the field and see the student out doing the work. And so it wasn't always, it's got, again, just like with partnerships, I would say, it's got to be reciprocal. CFNC, a lot of times that's looked at as that's the counselor's job with the week, CFNC week, right? But I would go in and I would help during that week also. So we tried to partner up and utilize our resources as much together as possible, right? So Ashley, thank you for sharing. Thank you, Liz. Liz said they have an apprenticeship consortium in their county. Liz, you're in Davidson County, right?
Yes,
Lexington,
ma'am. Yes,
Davidson
ma'am.
County. And the staff and counselors visit the businesses. They come in and talk to the students, and you take students to their facilities. Awesome. Counselors and CDCs meet every month. Love it. Yes. Referring students to each other. Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Heard in one county one time, a lot of times people, students are saying, when I grow up, I want to get into mental health. I want to become a counselor. They actually had their counselors a part of the career fair to share, information about becoming a school counselor. So that was great. Career counselors, Carrie said, career counselors that work from a live, active Google Drive. Oh, yeah. And each time they meet students, share their career desire, they put something in the information. Oh, I love that. Love that.
Hey, Jeannie,
Love
it's
that.
good. May I ask a question? I had an
Yes,
opportunity
please.
have the opportunity to spend time with special populations coordinators yesterday,
Yes.
and we talked some about these collaborative efforts with counselors and SPCs. And I know that there are a few SPCs on this Lunch and Learn, which we shared as
Awesome.
something that we do with CDCs in that presentation. And so I would wonder if anybody could share of any successful collaborations, not just with CDCs, but are they also inclusive of the SPCs as a best practice? Or if not, if you're having strong counselor CDC collaboration, what would be some suggestions that you will offer to SPCs to also enhance those collaborations with stakeholders in the building around this topic for their populations?
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Bryant. And I will just add in that work-based learning resource manual in chapter 4 is dedicated to equity and access and working with those special populations and bringing in your special populations coordinator. So yes, I would love to hear also. As a former school counselor, I do know that we give that time to share. I mean, give time for talking, that silence. Dr. Bryant, I do know that some schools will bring in, it is not vocational rehab anymore, um, but they will bring in different people um, to make sure that all students have the opportunities that they need. I know that some schools also work with the Next Gen representative and students who can qualify for WIOA funding or financial incentives can and I know that in previous schools, the school counselor and the CDC, they all know who the Next Gen rep is, and they will recommend a student for their programming. And with their programming, students can be paid for their work-based learning experiences. They can receive other different incentives that kind of levels the playing field for their lack of resources. So that's just another support framework for students who qualify under the WIOA funding and support. And I know counselors in some schools will work with the CDC and the SBC to create those lists of students that they want to be top priority. Modified blueprint. Yes, thank you, Audrey. Class placement. Yes. Melinda, tell me about your community and schools rep, if you
Yes.
don't
Hi.
mind.
Yeah. Hi, Ms. Turner. Thanks so much for the presentation today. So we actually have just had a transition where we have a new rep, in our school. And she and I were talking the other day, and she said, actually putting on career fairs is part of my job description. Like I'm supposed to be doing. I was like, well, excellent.
I know, right?
Yeah. So she's new to us, and but she said, but that's what I'm here for, is to, be a support system, and like whatever y'all want to do, if you kind of tell me, then I'm your person to kind of do the running and the connecting. And so the counselor and I are very excited about collaborating together. We're a small district anyway, but I'm excited about having someone that's actually like that's what they do, and they have some connections already. And then in conjunction with, like, I'm from this area, my district is, and so just the relationships that we've built in within our communities over the years. I think the key is just collaboration. And it's just like departments are not separate. We are all here for the whole purpose of
Mm-hmm.
providing for the students.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Love it. Thank you. Thank you. I'm gonna look more into that to see, because that's new. I know about community in schools as far as like the elementary setting, as far as their day before school and after school, but that's sounds like a wonderful resource to have. Uh, Dr. Brian, I heard looks like you had a wonderful session for SPCs and talking about that interdepartmental collaboration. That is so very true in so many aspects.
Jean, Keisha, Dr. Brian she's trying to get in again. She lost sound and was dropped,
Oh, okay.
so she won't see that information on the chat because it only populates what's new. Um,
I love to
yeah,
hear about the collaboration for the CDPs. It
yeah,
again, that's a team approach too. That has to be, because our students are not cookie cutter and we can't put them all in the same block. And so you're going to have the expertise from everyone to be able to point kids in the right direction to get what they need.
yeah. Thank you, Jean. I think it's time for us to wrap it up. Just in case anyone needs to just drop off exactly at 11:30. What a fabulous session, information sharing. Whoops. Thank you for the time and the detail. Yeah, the more work-based learning we get out to those students, the better their futures are in connecting the dot, the reason for why they're in school and what their future is going to be, and options it just makes it better for everybody. I'm going to share the screen if I could, my screen, and just a little reminder to everybody that if you have any questions, uh, please pull up this QR code. Any follow-up questions for Dr. Keisha Bryant, for me, and even Jean, although Jean does have her email out there and in the chat for you all. But Keisha and I like to get questions collectively through this platform so we can disseminate them out and then see how we can better support each of you out there with the work that you do. So I'll keep that up for 10 more seconds.
Amy, did you see the chat?
No.
Jody Davis said, if everybody's free, just kind of putting it out there. LMI is the labor market.
Yes.
The LMI Tuesday is on the CDP session, which is great.
Yes. Thank you. Thanks. Who was that? Leanne?
Jody Davis.
Jody Davis. Thank you, Jody.
Mhm.
So before wrapping this up, our next Lunch and Learn is January 14th, and that the focus is CTE middle grades and fifth grade career awareness. That will be in 2025. January 14th, just less than 2 months away, or just more than 2 months away. A reminder for all Lunch and Learn sessions that you will need to register for those individually, and you'll get the link for your session. And again, for attending, you'll get 0.1 CEUs. Why not register for those in advance so it's all taken care of? And our CT Professional Development Department will email you a reminder the day before and then morning of and with your link again. So if you haven't registered for that, go ahead and do that. And that is our next Lunch and Learn, January 14th, CT middle grades and 5th grade career awareness, which is for everybody. So thank you so much again for being here. Thank you, Jeanne Turner, work-based learning consultant. Keisha and I additionally appreciate you all taking the time for these Lunch and Learn sessions. A reminder that the recording will be sent out through our platforms to you, and then you can get them out to others, and look at it again if you'd like. And how do I, there we go. My technology is a little wonky this morning. Thank you very much for all that you do. It is November 5th. It's election day, perfect day to think about engaging with the community a little bit more and being sure that you get out to vote. I did say that, recording, get out to vote. Thanks, Jeanne. And thank you, Keisha, and everyone for attending.
Have a great day, everyone.
You all stay well.
You
Goodbye.
too. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.